All right, all right. Welcome to MSKS Sports. It's been a while.
MSKS.
It is the 9th, it's the 23rd of September in New York City, which is the third week of the NFL season. It is grand final week in Australia. A strange one because it's in lockdown and they are once again doing a night grand final, which makes me insane, but we can talk about that later. Hi, Seven. How are you today?
I'm good. I'm good. I am picking up the pearls on my desk because my necklace popped.
So what happened? Because you put it on and I'm like, wow, that's beautiful. And now it's a game of pick 'em up.
Yeah, yeah. But you know what? Good. It's a great game. It's a great game.
I can just hear them chink, chink. So I will say we started this originally, and I think we gained some fans because of our Gels Marble Run interest, which we have lost a little track of, but we'll definitely get back into it. Um, I think I shifted teams halfway through the season and just lost, just got too hard. But
Yeah, it did. Listen, we need to make things easy if we want people to engage and connect. It has to be easy. If it's not easy, it's hard. And who wants anything to be hard?
not me.
Exactly.
Sparked this today was we started having a conversation. You wanted some advice from me. I wanted to hear the story and the backstory from you, and we thought we should put this out to the world.
Yes, we should.
Do you want to let the people know what your concerns are vis-a-vis?
Okay, we can jump in there. But first, I'd like to just mention that I've been paying attention to football more this season because my friend Kath invited me to a fantasy football league. I want to start with that. And I just want to say, Kath, that I did some research on the Gentlemen Destroyers.
The Gentlemen Destroyers, that's your team. Yep.
And we're going to win.
Have you ever done fantasy football before this?
Never.
Me neither. And I always wanted to. And I guess a lot of people do it for money and it's a whole big thing. And a friend of mine married a woman from Brazil a few years ago. And so this was just a chance for everyone to kind of get together and chat. So I think it's you and me, Andy and his sister-in-law and his father. So out of the whole league, there's only 5 of us who actually watch football, and everybody else is just in it for the banter and to give it a go. So I really thought that I would do well, but I actually think what I did was overthink it. Like I thought I didn't have any time to research. So I just went on a website that sort of said, hey, here's some good ideas. But those good ideas assumed that everybody else in the league would know what they were doing. And so I think I could have gotten much better players if I just paid attention to what was really happening rather than trying to follow this predetermined script of somebody else. Because they were assuming like, oh, by the time it's your turn, those players will be gone. But they probably weren't because we were drafting with people who didn't necessarily know. So So I think at the moment we worked out you are second on the table after 2 games, 2-0. You beat me last week. That was a pretty close game, to be fair.
It was good. I don't know who was playing because I wasn't paying attention, but I do know that I won.
Yeah, you know what it was? It was Henry playing against Seattle. That was like 40 points. That killed me twice because Seattle is my team and lost. And then my team, what am my team called? The Spider Cats, also lost. So I am 0 for 2. And I think that's going to be pretty much my season as it goes because I don't have a lot of great players. Chicago are on my bench as a defense. They got 19 points last week, and I had LA Chargers instead who got 6. So that probably would have put me over the top. But coulda, woulda, shoulda.
But a lot of this is just like random.
Yeah. Yeah. You know? Well, I think the idea is that if you really know what you're talking about, you can be like, well, that particular player is best against that particular kind of defense, and that's what they do. And I'm like, I don't know. This is numbers.
I understand that, but I'm more about like what is going on with the player.
Right.
I like the stories.
Yes, that's what we're all about here, in fact. Yeah.
Exactly. I'm about like, what is going on with this man? Because remember, there's the other thing involved here that nobody can predict, and that's injuries.
That's right.
Okay. Right. Chemistry in a team. Somebody slept with somebody's mama. Okay. Yeah. And now I'm going to make you look bad on purpose. These are real things. These are real factors.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. That's true. You're right. I mean, here I am learning from the master and I still haven't learned my lesson. That's on me. That's on me.
Listen, so, but this is, then that brings us to the whole situation that brought us here, which is, I have a calling. It came to me like a flash. I was watching a Jets game and they were terrible. Awful. I mean, the dude couldn't pass straight.
That's not good.
Interceptions all over the place. Okay, you don't have to be a football scholar to know when somebody threw a bad pass. It goes, it lands, you pick it up, you do something. It worked or it didn't work. But in this situation, there was a systematic pattern. It wasn't like one or two bad. Like, it was bad, Kat. It was horrible.
I mean, you told me, you're like, I'm watching the Jets game today, and I was like, why are you doing that to yourself? I didn't comment at the time. I'm like, hey man, you want to live your best life. I would never subject myself to watching a Jets game if I could possibly help it.
But then I came across a piece of information. There's a reason for everything. So the piece of information that I got was that the Jets are owned by the Johnson and Johnson Corporation.
Oh, interesting.
Intriguing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Discover this piece of information, or is that not relevant?
This is relevant. This is very relevant because they own that team. And Johnson and Johnson is actually the cause of many, many sick people because of their products.
Oh, did they not also release a vaccine that has saved a lot of people's lives?
This is them trying to give back, and they do for free, which is great. But this is what I've come to realize is that Johnson and Johnson products actually destroyed a lot of lives. Make up your own mind, but this is what I learned based on some information that I came across. I watched a couple documentaries, and then I even looked it up. I'm like, you know what? This is some bullshit right here. Okay? And thank goodness that I did not really grow up with these products being used on me. But I know that I grew up with people around me that actually use these products all the time.
Well, I remember when you got very concerned when you saw that I had Johnson & Johnson talcum powder.
Yeah.
A little shy about saying, like, and I was like, oh, I don't have an emotional connection to it. And you were like, but some people do.
Some people do.
Johnson & Johnson talcum powder. Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. Well, anyways. So this is where I'm coming from.
Yeah.
I think this is a curse. I think this is a curse because you do so much bad and evil, whether it was intentional or not. We can sit there and talk about it, but what happened was bad. And why did it have to take so long for them to do something about it? Because of the profits.
Well, so here's what I was thinking during the week, and I didn't realize where you were coming from with it, but I do think that for there to be a curse, someone had to place it. So I don't think it's enough that Johnson & Johnson does bad things, and I'll tell you why.
Okay.
There are football teams, soccer teams owned in the UK that are owned by evil oil barons whose business practices literally kill people all the time, and those teams do great. And I was thinking about a curse. I think someone has to place the curse. And so when you mentioned like a potential curse, I was thinking, all right, so there's a curse on them, but I don't think it just randomly happened. I don't think it's just karma, because a lot of football teams have karma. I think that maybe, let's put the stories together, someone was affected by Johnson & Johnson, or someone in their family was affected by Johnson & Johnson, and they said, you know what I'm going to do about it? I'm going to place a curse on the Jets. Because I don't.
Shit! Can you put this to a whole other level?
Just putting it together, right? Just
shit. Listen, you're exclusive here, MSKS Sports, baby.
We've all got a piece of the puzzle and we're just putting it together. That's what's happening. So I didn't know necessarily why someone would want to put a curse on the Jets. Can I tell you a story about a curse that was put on my football club in Australia by somebody?
Oh my God. Tell me.
All right. So 1990, my team, the Collingwood Magpies, Australian rules football, win the grand final. It's the first time they've won the grand final in years. Collingwood have a reputation for having what they call the collie wobbles. They've been in as many grand finals as anybody else, like equal number, like the most grand finals or equal number of most grand finals, and have lost 70% of them. Like they're really good at getting to grand finals and then really good at losing them. And so it's called the collie wobbles, like play amazing all season and then suck. For this 1990, I was a certain amount of years old, and they finally broke the streak. The following year, they were playing really well. Everyone thought they were going to go back to back, right? Five games in, going back to back. And then, and I could be mixing up this story, but who cares? It's a great story the way I'm telling it, and this is how we're going to say it is. All these things definitely happened, possibly not in this order though. Collingwood were playing against St Kilda at the old Victoria Park in Abbotsford, and St Kilda had an Aboriginal player called Nicky Winmar, and he was copping some racist abuse from the crowd. In those days, it was kind of considered fine. These days, you'd get kicked out, but in those days, it was sort of whatever went. And he kicked a goal, and then he ran up in front of all the Collingwood fans, pulled his jumper up and pointed at his skin as if to say, like, fuck you all, look at me. And it's iconic. There is a statue of him doing that. It was the first time that, came into kind of really public consciousness.
Where is the statue, by the way?
The statue is in Melbourne, Victoria.
I need to go see it.
You like it, yeah. And it just brought a conversation to the forefront of, because similar to here, it's like, your native people or your black people or your minority people are invisible unless they're running around for money in a sports match. And then we love them, but as long as you stay in your place and don't say anything that you shouldn't say, right?
I know, it's terrible.
And so after he did that, I think it was the Collingwood president at the time, who's like, a boardroom suit kind of guy, like an owner, but not. He doesn't have his own money in the game, but he's kind of the most high profile kind of dude. He said something along the lines of, I don't have a problem with the Aboriginal players as long as they behave more like white people.
What?
1991. 1991.
Oh my goodness. Well, at least he said it out loud so everybody knows where they stand.
So Kelly Country was an Aboriginal guy, and he put a curse on Collingwood at that point. He was like, fuck y'all. And I don't blame him. So he put a curse on Collingwood. Collingwood proceeded to lose the next 10 games, completely out of finals contention. He eventually relented and took the curse off, and they won every single game for the rest of the season. But
Get
it was too late.
out of here! Oh my goodness!
Not the only curse that guy has put on a football club either, and it always has worked. Yeah.
I mean, did he state this curse out loud? Like, how do we know that he did this?
He told people he did it. Now,
shit!
And a white person, I am not privy to the mysteries of how an Aboriginal person places a curse. But there is some like anthropological discussions of it's called bone pointing, and this is only an interpretation by white anthropologists, right? So take it all with a grain of salt. But it's like, the idea, like there's studies of people coming into hospitals with no discernible problem except they've been bone pointed, they've been cursed. And it really is like, so the medicine men, they're not really medicine men, but the curse givers, they have a particular kind of bone, it's shaped a particular kind of way, and they do a certain ritual and they point it at you. And, in some ways it's like, well, they believe that the words are there, but, medical doctors believe that people believe in it so much that just the belief that they're going to die of it will kill them. It doesn't happen right away, days, weeks, months, but it does happen that people die of getting bone pointed. And whatever the magic behind it is beyond my understanding. And so the story was that metaphorically he did that to the Collingwood Football Club, and that's what he told people he did. And it happened to coincide with what should have been Collingwood's back-to-back season going completely pear-shaped, until he then said, all right, I'll take the curse off, and then they started doing well again.
Okay. So the plot thickens. Who has placed a curse on the Jets?
Someone, man. Or could it have been...
But you need to understand this, Kath. It was unnaturally bad. Like, it was how did the wind do that? You know what I mean? Like, what the fuck is going on? This is why I was like, no, something's here. Something's there that is not natural or is natural. I don't know, but there's a force.
Yeah. And you've watched is this like, I mean, the Jets have sort of been known for being poor for a while, but as you're saying, this is particularly bad. And I wonder, is this just new this season, or have you observed it in prior seasons, or have you just not watched enough to know?
No, I think that this is an ongoing curse. Like there are teams that have had curses that lasted many like decades. Like take the Red Sox, they had the curse. They would always get to the final but never win, and they called it the it has a name. Oh, it has to do with some pitcher or whatever. But anyways,
yeah, Melbourne Football Club had a curse. They called it the Norm Smith curse, which was the particular their coach must have been their coach. They fired a winning coach. This player was so renowned that there are medals named after him, and they fired him at the height of some good times. And that team has not won a grand final since 1960. They are, in fact, in the grand final this weekend. There are very high hopes that they might finally break, what would that be, a 60-year curse on them. But so, yeah, I guess I'm just wondering, because I haven't watched enough of the Jets to know, since no one else is talking about this curse. As you said, we're breaking it here first. We need to, can we pinpoint when it started? If we can pinpoint when it started, we might, because I started thinking, like, maybe it's an executive at Pfizer who just wants to make more money off their vaccine. That'd be one way. But like, it seems like it's probably been going on longer than that, right?
You know what? That's a good question. What is the history of the Jets? Okay, so that is a good question, and answers will be found for this question.
And so you had suggested to me that maybe we could lift the curse on the Jets. Should we? I think it's tricky unless we know why it was placed, right? Because it may be that we agree with why it was placed.
Good point. Listen, this is why I had to share it with you. You see why, this is exactly, but let me tell you something. If we find the curse, the origins, I'm gonna look into it, figure it out. Because who knows if it's just a vendetta? Well, let's just discuss that a little bit. Right? If it's a vendetta, if it's something like what happened in the team, the guy with the statue about the skin,
Yeah, and I think that was a fair curse, because in the sense that I'm quite sure that player was getting abused by the fans, and so the fans were the ones that suffered from the curse. So we got to think about who's suffering from this curse right now. Jets fans. How do we feel about Jets fans? Do we care if they suffer?
Do we like Jets fans? Maybe they deserve it.
I mean, they're not responsible for Johnson & Johnson's, we're all victims of capitalism, right? They're not responsible for Johnson & Johnson's excesses and things. But I don't know. I mean, karma's a bitch. Maybe they did some other stuff that we don't know about, and it's all just like...
maybe it's well deserved. I hear you. I mean, this shit happens. I mean, that's why people talk about karma and shit, and multiple lives, and you live one life and you do some bullshit, and then in the next life you die, you are born in a different body, and you have to learn the lessons that occurred from the previous lifetime. So yeah, I see that maybe what I'm getting out of this is maybe we shouldn't interfere.
But yeah, I mean, maybe we could certainly look into it. I'm trying to work out. So we are both in New York. We've both been in New York a very long time. You're a New Yorker. I'm obviously not, but I don't know any Jets fans.
I do.
And what do you think of them?
I don't like them very much.
Interesting. And I think relevant. Is that true?
I only speak the truth. I could have said something else and I didn't.
Well, they might watch this later, so yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Any Jets fans who are watching, Seven just forgot you were a Jets fan. She's not talking about you don't know. It's fine. So here's the other thing too, as someone who, I go for some teams that are, well moneyed and win things a lot, and I go for some underdog teams, depending on the code of sport that I'm watching. And while the Jets themselves have now become an underdog team, like New York is a sports market. I mean, like, yeah, there are a lot of long suffering Knicks fans, a lot of long suffering Mets fans, and all the rest of it. But you get to live
But
in
you
New
see,
York.
the Knicks, to me, it's that owner.
Right. That's obvious.
For me, that's the owner. The owner is to me, it's like you get what you deserve. As long as that owner owns that team's gonna be terrible and awful, and they're gonna get to a certain place and whatever. But there's something about that guy. It's just like,
well, he's the fail son of a rich guy, and so it's very smart of the rich guy to say, "Hey, son, instead of fucking up my businesses, here's a sports team. Go fuck with that."
Oh God.
Yes.
Why? I want to cheer for the Knicks so bad.
No, but I think
the Nets are doing it.
I do think that, like, if you get to live in New York, having to watch your team lose every now and then is, like, you've got other great things going for you. You live in New York. Like, if you live in some podunk little, back of the beyond in Wisconsin, and the only thing you have going in your life is Green Bay, then fair enough. Like, it's not like that, like.
I need to say it because somebody's gonna think it. What a bitch! Somebody's gonna think it. So let me just say, okay?
That's fine. I'll cop it. I'll own it. I will own that. I am a bitch. I'm being a bitch. I'm being a total snob. But I guess what I'm also saying, I'm going to offend everybody, because I'm also saying that if you're a Jets fan and the only thing happening in your life is the Jets, what's wrong with you? You live in New York City or like close enough to it. Do something else on a Sunday, man. Come on.
I think that maybe the NFL will have something to say about that because they want to get there. But I'm with you. Like, I'm about the people. And people, yeah, everybody should have something to do that they love to do. And, somebody might say, what I love to do is watch football games.
I mean, yeah. I'm being very judgmental and I'm okay with it.
Okay.
So now if we were to attempt to assist the Jets to raise the curse. So let's make a few assumptions based on things we've already said. The path that we've gone down so far is that Johnson & Johnson have hurt a lot of people. So, they're coming for me. They've heard what I said.
There it is. Sports police.
I know, right? Sports opinion police are coming for Kath. She only had one comeback episode and they've already taken her away. Oh my God. So if we assume Johnson & Johnson hurt a lot of people, and you know more about that than I do, so you might be able to get into more of the specifics of like some of the more egregious things that have really killed people.
Yeah. But I agree with you. We have to look at this holistically and not just one thing. But all I have to say is I followed my gut. My gut told me I needed to tell you, and I'm glad I did.
Yeah. Well, I want to sort of, because if we are going to go ahead with it, which we haven't agreed we will, then we definitely do need some kind of ritual.
But you know what? But I think what we need to do is maybe instead of jumping into that, we need to go into maybe we need to assess the whole league. Okay, maybe let's do that. Let's look into the Jets thing, and then look at other teams.
Yeah.
Right, because we may learn. We already established some cases of curses. Some that were prolonged, one that was short term. And I just found out that the curse that I was talking about with the Red Sox is the curse of the Bambino. And that was an 86-year-long curse.
Yeah, that's right. I had heard of that.
Yes. So, and
maybe
I watched that game, yo. I watched that game. They won the championship. That was fantastic. You know what it feels like 86 years? Amazing. And I'm not even a baseball fan.
It's just the excitement of the drought breaking. I think that's what's happening right now in Melbourne, because 2016, the Western Bulldogs broke a drought and won the grand final. My friend's daughter was born that day, so we always remember that was the moment. And so there's two teams left that have not won, like they've got really long standing, 50, 60-year droughts, and one of them is playing this weekend. So I'm very very excited. I just want to talk about this because it really makes me angry.
Yeah.
The Australian Rules Grand Final has been played at 2:10 p.m. on a Saturday afternoon in Melbourne time for as long as I've ever been alive. And it means that so people get up early, there's grand final breakfasts, everyone gets together, you have a barbecue, you watch the game. The game's over by 5 o'clock in the afternoon. So if you are up for it and you want to go out and party, you can. But if you've got the kiddies, or if you've already had a few too many, you can have a nice early night, and that's fine. The AFL have been pushing and wanting to turn that into a night grand final, like started at 5 o'clock, started at 7 o'clock, have it be a nighttime thing. They think it's better for TV ratings, because people who wouldn't necessarily normally watch football are going to be home to watch it. But I mean, that's what my friend said. I don't actually understand it, because Saturday night's where people go out. They tried it last year because the pandemic was on, and they played the game, and they took it out of Melbourne for the first time, played it elsewhere, and it was on at 7 p.m. Melbourne time, 5 o'clock WA time. The biggest bugbear I have with that personally is that puts it at 5 a.m. New York time. So okay. I think you have watched the AFL Grand Final with me before, when it started at midnight New York time, right? Still not convenient for a Friday night, but doable. You can go to a pub. You can have a few drinks. I've shown Aussie rules to my American friends because it's the grand final, and it's like, just, come out. But nobody that I know is going to come and watch a game at 5 a.m. just to see what it's like. And there's no pubs open to do it necessarily. The whole thing messes it up. And I think it's very short-sighted, because there is a US-based AFL league. It's quite big. And in fact, because America is so much bigger than Australia, like there's, 300 and whatever million people in America and only 26 million people in all of Australia, there are more people in America watching the broadcast of the AFL Grand Final than there are watching it in Australia, just for the, like, not percentage-wise, obviously, but raw numbers. And now they've just ruined that. For what? And the kiddies can't stay up late. Like, they can't necessarily stay up until 10 p.m. to finish the end of the game. So it's just, and I just feel like there is so much horrible crap in the world right now that we can't control. And here is one thing that's totally controllable, and they've fucked it 2 years in a row now. So I'm preparing myself. I'll have an early night on Friday. I'll get up at 5 a.m. I'll have a brekkie beer. It'll be fine, but it just won't be the same, and I'm very disappointed. It's a lot of what made it okay for me to live in America, was at least I could watch the grand final at the pub with some mates. And now that that's gone, I just don't know anymore, man.
Damn, this is hitting you hard.
Yeah, it did. It did hit me hard. Yeah, but to your original point, there might be a lot of curses we are not aware of. There may be some curses lurking that. So I think that something to look into, because I haven't necessarily paid attention, but what you talked about with the Red Sox and also the Collingwood one for a while is like, obviously the Jets are just terrible, but what about those teams that make the playoffs every single year and just fall? Like, that seems like a good candidate for someone who might be under a curse, like raising their, like, looking good.
Listen, I just saw a documentary, okay? Who isn't at the top, and do we want them at the top? Listen, I was watching this documentary. It's called The Family.
Oh, that sounds cultish.
It is.
We love a cult. We love a cult documentary. Oh my God, lay it on me. Yes. I'm gonna get my drink for this one. Oh yes. Tell me more.
Listen, this is the most freakish cult I've ever heard of. And I watch a cult documentary. So know what I'm talking about. First of all, it's invisible. It doesn't have a structure. Okay? Let's start with that. Let's start with the fact that it starts with the Bible, but they only use 5 chapters of the Bible that all have to do with Jesus. And it's not the Jesus part. It's the fact that it's Jesus or nothing.
Okay, gotcha. Yep.
You're already starting in an aggressive stance.
Yeah, it's pretty aggressive. Yeah.
And what the version of Jesus they have is Jesus as a strong man. A Jesus
no.
Yeah. Okay. And all they do is seek
white
power.
too.
Oh, they're white. Yes. There are some black people. I did see a few.
Their Jesus is white though.
Listen, the most disturbing part is that what they seek is power. So
over each other or over the world?
I don't even understand. Like, I don't even understand. It's so bizarre. Okay, how can I say this? It's like a political party, but it's a religion. And they have status as a religion and everything. They're called the Fellowship. But they don't like to call themselves anything. So if you just ask them about their religion, they don't have a religion. They're Jesus first.
Okay. So you can't Google them because they don't really have any names and stuff.
Oh, you can Google them. They just don't talk they don't talk to each other that way. So you're the brother, you're a friend. They don't go to church. They just meet and talk about business. And Jesus, and Jesus within these 5 books.
Okay. So then what? How does this relate to what?
So okay, how can I say this? It just really disturbed me. But how is this connected to the teams? Well, the reason that I think so is because they love power and men in power. But all they care about is power, and they're the chosen one, and everybody's beneath them. Like, think about it this way. If this movement got on steroids, it wouldn't be that different from the world in The Handmaid's Tale.
Whoa, okay.
You know what I mean? Women subservient, men in power. Their leaders are everything. I'm not even describing it right, honestly, because it left me like, what?
I'm going to watch it. What's it on?
Netflix.
I'll check it out.
It's called The Family. And this guy got invited, because you only get invited. It's not a church that has like sessions or whatever they're called. Tells you how much I go to church.
They don't have any conferences. That's what they call it, right?
They have prayer. They have like prayer groups, and they have one of the most famous prayers of all time, which is the White House prayer group that a senator.
Oh, I've heard of that. Now this is starting to feel familiar. I think I've read bits and pieces about this. Yeah.
Uh-huh. And they go around the world making deals with other countries and friends with leadership all over the world, but they go for the most powerful, whether you're a tyrant or not, because it's not about good or bad. And this is the other part that blows my mind. They don't care whether the person in leadership is good or bad, right. Just that they're the leader and that they're the strongest, period.
Power for power's sake. Because if you believe you're righteous, then the means justifies the end. That's
as long as they're it's for them. It's about Jesus. I don't even understand it, Kat. I just don't get it. All I know is to me it seems dangerous that there's that they befriend people in politics, and that these politicians are going out to other countries where there's bad things happening and making bad things happen. I'm not even going to go into it, really. And in the name of like, they're emissaries, but they're in government. So there's this huge cross between church and state, which is not supposed to happen.
Right.
but they've gotten away with it because they don't call themselves a church.
I get you. So
And
football?
well, I guess the reason that I'm saying football is that there are a lot of people a part of this organization, and owners of football teams are powerful men.
Mm-hmm. 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 Yep.
Big friends, big money, big leaders.
Yep. Sucking up to each other. Yeah, yeah.
So are any of these owners a part of this? I would like to know.
Yeah. I mean, it seems highly likely.
That's what I'm saying.
Ugh. Ugh.
I mean, they all cover for each other. I mean, look at what happened with that Epstein thing. There was a football owner involved in that shit too.
And it also, again, ties into that whole thing of like, they don't really care about, say, their own players' lives, their health and all that sort of stuff, as long as they're making money, right? And they don't even necessarily, you see it in all kinds of sports, and not all owners are like that, but I definitely think you're onto something there. Makes perfect sense. I'm so watching the shit out of this documentary. It all ties together. So where I've heard of this stuff is on Twitter, not so much on the documentary, but Twitter. I follow a lot of ex-evangelicals, and a lot of ex-evangelicals are kind of screaming about the way the politics of certain, and not all, but certain evangelical movements are working to get power and to infiltrate power. And it's even in, I come from a country that when I first left Australia, we ranked like one of the highest for non-secularness, for like, just a society that was just non-secular or secular. I've forgotten which one means not religious. Anyway, not religious. Like we ranked really high on just non-religiosity. And now we have an evangelical as a prime minister who has put a lot of evangelical people in his cabinet. Like, it's so bizarre because I left Australia 13, 14 years ago. And at that point, I prided the fact that I came from a country that was non-religious and where politics and religion had nothing to do with each other. And all of a sudden, so I think this ties into exactly what you're talking about. It's happening everywhere, and it's happening before our eyes in such a subtle way because they're not calling themselves something.
But this is what I'm saying. So when gay marriage got passed here, they went on a mission. These senators and Congress people and big time business people that are associates of the fellowship to other countries and went to those leaders or people who have been organizing that are against gays, against abortion, against women's rights, all those people, and funded them, which is why we have fucking havoc going all over the world. It's them.
So if we're going to lift a curse, I mean, I don't want to aim too big, but I mean, we can lift a curse on the Jets, or we could try and like energetically combat whatever the fuck that is. Now, I've really expanded the scope of our mission here.
Okay.
Maybe it should just be one curse at a time, but yeah, I mean, I think you're onto something here.
Well, it's going to have to be. I mean, can't we just two people, like there's just so much we can do. Come on. We're going to have to enlist help.
I think we can do that.
We can do that, but first let's try us one and see how and then see how it goes, and then maybe we can create a method and a framework.
All right, so we have a few theories going here. It could be related to power and religion. It could be related to Johnson and Johnson, which is probably also related to power and religion anyway.
That's what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see what we're going to find out. We're about to find this out. We're about to scope it out, smoke it out, and figure it all fucking out. Okay? That's what we're about to do, because enough is enough.
Enough is enough. We've had it up to here. That's it. And if anyone, I will have to ask around. The people who feel the pain of, oh, so I'm just going back to like who else might be under a curse. Like, you can look at stats and you can look at this and that, but people who really feel the pain of, oh my God, we've gotten so close so many times and still can't get the final hurdle done are the fans. Like, they're the ones that say, like, feel like we're under a curse. How could we get so close and yet never kind of, so I'm curious where those teams might be. I mean, the NFL tends to, because there tends to sort of, who is on top and then who goes down tends to like shift around a lot because of salary caps and the draft and all that kind of stuff, which keeps it a little bit more balanced than some of the other leagues in the US.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm not aware of like that kind of thing what you're saying with the Red Sox, where like they just would get so close and not make it for 86 years.
Mm.
Is the NFL equivalent of that? Not really sure.
Mm. The word came in. One of my players from the Destroyers, he's a stud.
He's a stud.
He's a stud.
What are you talking about?
I have my little birds running around finding information for me.
Oh, I see.
Yes. I got a system.
Sounds like it. Alrighty. Well, shall we reconvene after we've done some research and
Okay.
bring it to the people?
All right. That's it. We're gonna find out some information. We're gonna take it one step at a time. And right now, we're just gonna try to figure out the history of the Jets, see if we see any patterns. We're gonna see. I'm gonna look up Johnson's and the whole situation so I can get myself more information about when did that start and what they've done to make reparations, because reparations need to happen.
Mm-hmm. And
Okay.
I bet you where they fuck things up a lot has not necessarily been in this country. It will have been in other places.
All right. All right. And then maybe if we have time, it's not a big deal, but if we have time to try to see what we can learn from the curses that we already know about, like maybe is there an angle that, that we're missing so that it helps us assess this situation better?
I think so. I think so.
Okay, cool.
Keep an eye on this channel to find out when that's going to happen. Because I don't know when I'm free next, but we'll get it done. And I'm going to watch that documentary. I need to know more about this situation as well. Because you
Tell
think
me
you're
all about it. As you are reacting to it, please inform me because I need to know what you're going to think when you see it.
I'll keep you posted. All right, we'll pick up your pearls and I'll see you next time.
Oh, yeah. Bye.
No, that was sad.